It's actually wild to think about, but over 40% of new marriages involve blending families. 40%! Yet somehow the wedding industry hasn't quite caught up to that reality. So today, we're exploring a deeply fascinating and absolutely crucial topic, the tactical and emotional realities of planning a blended family wedding. If you're merging families right now, or even just know someone who is, this is a must-understand concept. We're going to take all the guesswork out of what is frankly an intensely emotional day and replace it with absolute clarity.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the couple-centric myth, move into the psychology of blending, and outline the crucial pre-wedding conversations. Then we'll cover an inclusive ceremony, rethinking the reception, and building a lasting legacy. Basically, we're shifting from the deep psychology of exclusion to a highly tactical, step-by-step roadmap for the big day. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The couple-centric myth, moving beyond two become one. We need to immediately address a pretty massive flaw in traditional wedding culture.
Okay, so traditional weddings are almost entirely about the couple. Think about it. The vows, the cake cutting, the first dance, it's all built around this singular fairy tale narrative of two people becoming one. But the reality of a blended family wedding, it's vastly different. That traditional framework completely ignores the fact that you are potentially merging two entire families. It's like a giant puzzle. You're merging two histories, two sets of wounds, and, honestly, two completely different definitions of what the word home even means.
Which brings us to Section 2, the psychology of blending, what children absorb. Because the kids aren't just passively watching your decisions, they're actively absorbing them. So, what actually happens to a child's nervous system when they don't see themselves included in the ceremony? Well, even if they're smiling for the photos, an uninclusive wedding can lead to deep attachment wounds. It can trigger loyalty conflicts, acting out, withdrawal, and a slow, painful erosion of trust between the step-parent and the child. Feelings of abandonment don't require actual physical abandonment. Sometimes they're created simply by a child feeling like they've been pushed to second place on a day that literally reshapes their entire world.
So if you already have this emotional intelligence and you understand these feelings of exclusion, how do we actually translate that psychology into practical planning?
That leads us right into Section 3, crucial pre-wedding conversations, before you book a vendor. Let's get highly tactical about the vital discussions you must have before you even finalize a guest list.
There's a really clear three-step conversation process here. First, align with your partner. You guys have to discuss exactly how the kids will be included, whether through symbols or specific roles, and ensure you're both on the exact same page about the emotional stakes. Second, you got to speak with the children. Offer them an age-appropriate invitation into the process. Remember, it's an invitation, not a mandate. And third, actually, you have to have a hard conversation with yourself. You must critically check your own fairy tale expectations and make sure they aren't unconsciously overshadowing the children's deep need to belong.
Because, and this is absolutely crucial, the act of asking is itself healing. When you sit down to talk to the kids, the simple, genuine act of extending that invitation makes them feel valued. It's incredibly powerful. You aren't just handing them a job for the day, you're validating their place in the new family dynamic.
Now for Section 4, an inclusive ceremony, designing belonging at the altar. With the conversations out of the way, let's look at designing true inclusion during the ceremony itself.
You've got some fantastic options for physical inclusion tactics here. You can create tangible symbols of blending, like a 3-ring design, or a special medallion they can hold on to. But more importantly, you have to give the kids a spatial message of belonging. Please don't just relegate them to a quick walk down the aisle only to have them sit in the crowd. Let them walk in as family and position them front and center at the altar. Where they stand physically communicates to everyone in the room, and especially to them, where they stand in the family.
And imagine the impact of this ultimate act of inclusion, standing up and making vows directly to the children, saying out loud in front of everyone, I promise to show up for you. I promise to respect your feelings. I promise that this family is big enough to hold all of us. Offering honest, warm, public vows on the record profoundly changes a child's story.
But the celebration doesn't stop at the altar. Section 5, rethinking the reception, extending the magic.
Once the ceremony's over, the work isn't done. We really have to rethink the reception so the children don't just suddenly revert back to being ordinary guests the moment the food is served. You can easily extend the magic, give them a dedicated toast, or pop them into a special slideshow. Play a joyful, inclusive song that gets everyone on the dance floor together. Give them a dedicated table of honor. Or, even better, give them meaningful roles. Go way beyond the typical ring bearer. Make them a junior coordinator or the person who proudly introduces the couple to the reception room.
And here is exactly why those reception roles matter so much. Ownership breeds belonging. When kids feel like they actually have a stake in the success and joy of the event, they feel an undeniable sense of belonging to the family that event is celebrating.
This all culminates in our final part, Section 6, Building a Lasting Legacy Beyond the Wedding Day. Let's look at the grand picture.
Because at the end of the day, you are not just planning a wedding, you are building a legacy. By taking these highly tactical steps, you are doing so much more than organizing a party. You are ensuring that 5, 10, 20 years from now, those children will look back at that day and know without a shadow of a doubt that they were always a permanent, cherished part of the family.
So, I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to spark your own planning. Ask yourself, what is one thing you did to include children on your wedding day, and how will the choices you make on this single day permanently shape your children's definition of home? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Use these tools, build that incredible legacy, and I'll see you in the next one.